Aloha mai kako, a Kamamaida Curtain Call, a weekly program of reviews, previews, interviews, and features of and or with the great art and artists on Maui and beyond. I'm Paul James Brown. In 1982, Yitzhak Shotten and Katherine Collier met Colin and Margaret Cameron, and the Kapalua Music Festival was born. Since then, it has morphed into the Maui Classical Music Festival, and it is an annual occasion all Maui music lovers anticipate. Over the years, Ms. Collier and Mr. Shotten have brought over 400 musicians from the U.S. and 15 countries. We have heard principals from major symphonies, award winners, and renowned ensembles. For the 42nd program, Mr. Shotten and Ms. Collier have brought us a world-class group once again. First, we welcome the return of clarinet virtuoso Yoonan Kim, the first solo clarinetist in 3 decades to win the prestigious Concert Artists Guild competition. This launched her career as a touring solo artist, along with a busy performance schedule. She is pursuing a doctorate from the Juilliard School. She performed a trio for clarinet, viola, and piano, Kerkel 498, Kelgesstadt, which means bowling, by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Mr. Shotten was the violist and Zenni Lee Cohen, Ph.D., the pianist. More about her later in this review. Ms. Kim has a glorious, melodious tone. Listen to these excerpts. Mr. Shotten also is at the top of his game, as demonstrated here. Dr. Lee Cohen is a marvelous accompanist. Listen to these exuberant runs from the final movement. She was also featured in the next work, Ludwig van Beethoven's Sonata for Piano and Violin, in A Major, Opus 12, No. 2. Dr. Lee Cohen earned her doctorate from McGill University in Montreal after receiving an artist's diploma from the Yale School of Music. She has a bachelor's and master's in piano performance from Juilliard. She is an explosive, expressive, sensitive, and accomplished pianist, as she demonstrated in this work with Sean Lee on violin, another double Juilliard graduate who studied with Itzhak Perlman. He will be accompanied by Maestro Perlman's longtime accompanist Rohan Da Silva on 2 of Paganini's Caprices on Friday night at the Iau Theater. This is one performance you do not want to miss. Considered the bedrock of modern violin repertoire, Mr. Lee is one of the few who performs all 24 of Paganini's impossibly complex and virtuosic caprices in concert. After intermission, the program continued with another Mozart work, this time his String Quartet No. 19 in C major, Kerkel 465, Dissonance, performed by the Formosa Quartet. The Formosa Quartet are a truly exciting youthful ensemble, and it was remarkable how well they performed with a pitch hitter, Eric Gratz, for their lead violinist, Wayne Lee. Mr. Gratz, when he was 22, became the youngest concertmaster in North America when he assumed the position with the San Antonio Symphony. He was in command from the start, and the other members of the quartet responded to his gentle, clear leadership swimmingly. You could not tell this wasn't the original Formosa Quartet. I didn't know of the substitution until after the program was over. That's how seamlessly he performed, and carelessly I read the program. And I found out this was the first time that he has performed with the Formosa Quartet. Unbelievable. I was shocked to learn this was their 22nd year because the energy and enthusiasm they exude is like that of first love. But it's not surprising because virtuosity like theirs only comes from years and years of work. The other members were Jasmine Lin on violin, who I thought was going to levitate, so enthusiastic and expressive was her performance. Two other Juilliard people round out the quartet, Matthew Cohen, violist, and Deborah Pay on the cello. The first movement, Adagio Allegro, lived up to its subtitle dissonance. It sounded more like Beethoven than Mozart, but when the Allegro came in, we knew we were in Mozart territory. The second movement, Andante Cantabile, was beautifully balanced between pianissimos as silent as tiptoes on moss, and the rising riffs to the crescendos were as smooth as turning up the volume on an electronic device. The Minuetto Allegretto, the third movement, featured a leitmotif, followed by an angry shout and an echo. Molto Allegro, the final movement, had a marvelous solo run by Mr. Gantz that concluded the work as the nearly full Makawa Union Church audience leaped to their feet in an extended standing ovation. Maui audiences are among the most generous and appreciative. As I post this tonight, Ms. Lee Cohen will be playing Sergei Borkevich's selected preludes for solo piano. I cannot wait, but you can and should take in the remaining shows on Wednesday. Should you find yourself in Hana, heli on over to Wainana Lua Congregational Church at 6 p.m. for Paganini from Mr. Lee, jazz, folk, pop, and poetry from the Formosa Quartet, and then Brahms String Sextet with Mr. Shotten and Amir Eldar joining the Formosa Quartet on viola and cello, respectively. This year's edition of the Maui Classical Music Festival concludes Friday at 7 and Sunday at 4 at the historic Iao Theater. On Friday, besides Mr. Lee's Paganini Caprices, Mr. Da Silva will join Mr. Eldar for Beethoven's 7 variations on a theme from the Magic Flute. Then Ms. Kim will return to perform Bartok's Contrast for clarinet, violin, and piano, with festival favorite Susie Park on violin and Ms. Lee Cohen on piano. The last work on Friday will be the Brahms Sextet No. 2 in G major, Opus 36. Again, the Formosa Quartet will be joined by Mr. Shotten and Mr. Eldar, viola and cello, respectively. The finale of this year's festival will kick off with Francis Poulenc's Sonata for clarinet and piano with Mr. Da Silva and Ms. Kim. Then the Formosa Quartet will present jazz, folk, and poetry. And the grand finale will be Felix Mendelssohn's String Octet in E-flat major, Opus 20. Besides the Formosa Quartet, Ms. Park and Mr. Lee will be violins, and Mr. Shotten and Eldar viola and cello, respectively. The Maui Classical Music Festival, now that the Maui Chamber Orchestra is gone, is the premier classical musical event on Maui. We are so lucky to have Mr. Shotten and Ms. Collier producing this remarkable event for us these 4+ decades. Let's hope it goes on and on. Go to www.mauiclassicalmusicfestival.org for tickets and information. These are world-class musicians playing an exciting program you do not want to miss. Well, that's Curtain Call for this week. Mahalo for joining me. I'm Paul James Brown. Maui strong. Ahui ho.